Buff Nation, voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson here. Welcome once again to Ralphie's Rundown with Rick. I'm Mark, that's Rick, by the way. Rick George, athletic director here at the University of Colorado.
I had to remind myself who I was, too.
Well, I haven't seen you for a little while. We got to remind each other. It's kind of nice this time of year. It's a quiet time of year. I don't know if Rick ever has a quiet time of the year, but this is a quiet time, athletically speaking, for all of our athletes. But we've got something going on here at the University of Colorado that I think everybody's interested in. We're at the naming campaign for Ralphie. I know there's some fundraising going on for Ralphie. A lot going on with our mascot.
Yeah, there is. And look, Ralphie's always been 100% donor funded. So it's important for us, to have this campaign, and we're putting this campaign around the nickname for Ralphie. Yeah. And Ralphie's historically always had a nickname. This isn't anything new to what we're doing. And the fact is that Ralphie's had some great nicknames, and I know you've got those nicknames. But we're at 16,000 to date. Our goal is 60. I think we can get to 100.
Right.
I encourage our fans to get behind it and support it, because this is a great initiative. She's an important part of our history, but yes, this has always been the case. And typically the Ralphie handlers have been the ones that have nicknamed, but they wanted our involvement and our fans' involvement in this, because we know how important it is to our history and tradition.
I was kind of surprised to find out that folks don't all know that Ralphie had a nickname. In fact, one night on the air, I mentioned Ralphie's nickname, and I got an email telling me, no, her name's Ralphie, which it is. Ralphie 1 was Ralphie.
Correct.
Right? Ralphie 2 was Moonshine. Ralphie 3 was Tequila. Ralphie 4 was Rowdy. And then the one we just sent out a pastor, if you will, was Blackout. Ralphie 5, and now Ralphie 6 will come up with a nickname. Here are the names so far that we're looking at: Blitz, Ember, Sixer, and Teeny. Which one was one of your ideas?
I can't disclose that information. I was told that I could maybe influence what
gotta
that
be
name
careful.
is, and I don't want to do that.
That's
so
good.
I'll make my donation anonymously, and to make sure that at least I have my voice heard.
And by the way, the website, and you'll be able to see it here on the screen, but it's giving.cu.edu/name-Ralphie6. That's the VI is in the Roman numeral. Again, you can take that off the screen here, but do go there, donate. Rick, where all the money goes to when we're talking about Ralphie, as you said, she is totally donor funded.
Correct.
And we're talking about premium hay and veterinarian activities and gloves and lead ropes and clothing and gear for the handler. All that kind of thing takes care of Ralphie.
Yeah, it does, and we still have Ralphie 5, and we care for Ralphie 5. So both of those things are important. We want to put trees out, where she's at, and plant some of those this summer, and some of the money would go to that, so they have some shade in the summer. So just she's 100% donor funded, and there's a lot of bills that we have for her, but she's important to our history and tradition, and she's going to lead a great life, and she's going to lead our team out to a lot of victories.
As in my role, I get asked about her all the time. I'd have to imagine when you go around the country, different events, meeting with folks from different universities, NCAA, you get asked about her quite a bit.
Oh, quite a bit, and I learn more from the Buffalo Bells when they have their function, when our Ralphie handlers come and speak, because they ask a lot of questions, but she's always been a she. Let's all remember that.
Yep.
And again, she's an important part of our history and tradition.
Is there any truth to the rumor that when there's a big decision coming out for you, you go and sit down on the pasture and you and Ralphie talk about it?
Well, we have had some discussions, and she's a pretty good soccer player, and she gets her snout, and she kicks the ball around, but she's a lot of fun, and she's got a great personality.
Well, get on. You see what the website is. Get on there, donate. Let's help care for Ralphie. We'll get her ready for another season coming up here in 2022-23, and we're looking forward. And vote. We want to find out what her name's going to be.
Right. Agree. 100%.
Let's move on to a couple other things. Spring sports. We've had some great success here. I know the track athletes have been fun to watch what they've been up to.
Yeah, they really have, and it starts with our lacrosse program. They had a really good year. They upset number 10 University of Denver at Denver, which was really important for us. Gave us that opportunity to potentially get into the NCAA tournament. We were on the bubble, didn't get in. That was tough. Our women's tennis program had a really good year. They upset number 49 Arizona on senior day, which was a great
awesome
going away present for our women's tennis seniors. And Anthony's really got this team and this program going in the right direction with a really difficult conference. As you know,
yep.
We win a national championship every other year in that sport. Our golf programs had some success. Justin Bewar, qualified for the NCAAs in the individual, did a really great job. Malik Barada qualified for the U.S. Open, the U.S. Women's Open this past week, and really gratifying to see her in that. And then, you know, you look at our track seasons. Our women finished second in the Pac-12, led by the Pac-12 Female Athlete of the Year, Abby Nichols. Did an incredible job. We won 4 out of the 5 distance races. Abby took the 10K and the 5K. We also had Maddie Borman, who won the steeplechase. Michaela DeGennaro won the 1500. Our men had some success. They finished 8th, which was really good for us. Eduardo Herrera led that with a 3rd place finish. Aaron McCoy in the 440 meter hurdles really did some great stuff. And so, you know, we also sent 29 student athletes to the NCAA West regionals.
Yeah.
And 16 advanced now into the NCAAs, which are this week in Eugene, Oregon. So really excited about that program, what they've been able to do, what they've been able to accomplish at this point. Probably the best outdoor track season we've had since I've been here.
Yeah.
And they still got more to do this week, and I'm really excited and looking forward to watching them run this week.
Yeah, the Buffs still very much representing on the national level. You know, as the semester then wrapped up, I know one thing that you always keep very close tabs on is GPA and how our athletic department's doing.
Yeah, look, we had 63 of our student athletes graduate, and that's what we do at Colorado. We graduate our student athletes. Our graduation rate's been over 90%, I think, ever since I've been here. And our goal is 100% graduation, but we know for different reasons student athletes don't graduate, you know, right on time. And but we measure that. We haven't come out with our term GPA yet. I do know it will be over a 3.1. I don't know exactly what it will be. Our 16th consecutive semester over a 2.9 GPA. So our student athletes are killing it academically. Chris Livingston and her team in the Herbst Academic Center, the support our coaches give to that, it's really an important part of our DNA, and really excited about what our student athletes are achieving on the field, but even more importantly, in the classroom, in our community. You know, the bottom line is, you know, we need to win more on the playing surface.
Amen.
We're doing a great job in the classroom. We're doing a great job in the community. Our student athletes are graduating at a high rate. We just need to continue to grow and gain more success for each of our programs.
You know, it's never too early around here to start looking towards the fall. Even though here we sit here, kind of in the early to mid part of June, football's going to be right around the corner. Volleyball's right around the corner. Everything will crank up here very quickly.
Yeah, everything. I mean, look, we've still got student athletes competing, you know, and we're into June now, in the middle of June, and that's a really good thing. But, you know, football's back. Some of our other sports are back. We're starting to have camps back again, which is great to see our student athletes around. I know volleyball and soccer typically come back the second semester of summer school, which will be in early July. So, you know, from this point forward, there's no breaks. You know, it's just we keep moving, and, you know, we'll be sitting down this time next year when there's that like 2-week window where we have very little going on.
And I know that you're looking forward to season tickets. I know there's a campaign going on for many plans and all sorts of things to make sure Folsom Field is full this
yeah,
fall.
look, I mean, last year we were the second highest per capacity in our conference. I hope we're the same this year. Our students really came out in full support. And look, I understand a lot of our fans didn't enjoy last season. I'll be the first to raise my hand and say I didn't enjoy it either in football. We're going to be much better in football. I really love our football coaching staff. I love our student athletes, the way they're competing. They're working out every day, and they deserve our support. And, you know, I know we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they have the tools they need to be successful moving forward.
Yeah, that new group of coaches that Carl brought in. You want to talk about energy? Get around those guys a little bit. I mean, it is just a great atmosphere when you get around the football program right now.
It is that.
As we always do on Rick's rundown, Ralphie's rundown with Rick, we get to some fans' questions. Here's one that I kind of chuckled when I saw it on the sheet here, because if anytime that you and I are at, you know, let's say the Hall of Fame inductions, the Living Legends, this one comes up all the time, and we got a number of them. And so we've had a number of fans write in about baseball and softball at CU. Of course, we've just seen the College World Series and both baseball and softball going on. And there's a plan. Is there a plan to add that sport given the success of other Pac-12 schools?
The answer is no. However, everything's on the table.
Okay.
You know, with this NCAA constitution and where intercollegiate athletics is going, we'll know a lot more later this fall on what changes will be made. Certainly, baseball and softball are important, you know, for a lot of schools, and the revenue generators for most schools, and so you have to look at that. But, you know, again, it comes down to resources. It comes down to, you know, making sure that we're within Title IX because we've been really good about that. Moving forward, we're going to release our Title IX plan on the 23rd of June, which is the 50th year anniversary of Title IX. And, you know, we've done some really good things in the past. There's some things we need to fix moving forward, but baseball and softball are some sports, and there's other sports that we would certainly contemplate as we look to what's next for intercollegiate athletics and the changes that we see coming down with the NCAA landscape.
Here's a question from Mike Thomas now. Mike is asking, is there anything you wish fans understood better about running a Division I athletic department? What are the fundamental trade-offs that you have to balance and maybe help them appreciate what you go through?
I don't know that there's a balance. It just kind of all hits you at one time, right? You know, so, you know, this year has been a really challenging year in a lot of ways, you know, coming out of the pandemic, having your football season, your fall sports, your winter sports, basketball, women's basketball doing so well. And then the changes that have gone on, you know, the convergence of the NIL with the transfer portal has been a real challenge. You know, I think, you know, there's a number of us ADs that don't like where it's at and what we're doing out there because it's NIL is great. I'm 100% for it. I think student athletes are monetizing their name, image, and likeness like they never have, and I think that's great. But we just got to make sure that it's name, image, and likeness, and there's a lot of things that are hiding behind that.
Yeah.
But as far as trade-offs, I mean, you know, look, we've always at Colorado, we've always done what the NCAA's allowed us to do. And so if you think going back to when it became unlimited meals, we stepped up, we created a nutrition program. We've got, you know, a full staff. We have it all in-house now. We're spending a couple $1 million on nutrition where 5 years ago it was $500,000. In our mental health and our psychological health performance department, we had one practitioner. We now have 4 full-time practitioners. We have 5 full-time staff. You know, we're seeing more of our student athletes than we ever have. We've got better education programs in place, you know, than we've ever had for our student athletes and our coaching staff. So we're investing in the things that are important to us moving forward. And so there really are no trade-offs. I mean, our primary purpose of this athletic department is to make sure that we have world-class programs in place for our student athletes, that we provide them a great experience. And we'd like to be 100%. We want all of our student athletes to leave. We know sometimes that's challenging and difficult to do, but we're going to always have these great programs in place. We're always going to have the student athlete experience, the student athlete graduation, meaningful degrees, meaningful postgraduate opportunities and jobs for our student athletes. We're measuring all that. Our Crawford Whole Student Athlete encompasses all those programs for our student athletes, and so there's really no trade-offs. I mean, our role is to create a world-class experience for our student athlete. We're going to do everything that the NCAA allows us to do that's permissible. You know, the Alston case is another example. That cost us $800 and some thousand when we implemented in January for half of the year. It's 1.7 moving forward, and we made a commitment to do that because the NCAA allows us to provide those educational benefits up to $5,980. So we were one of the first of 22 schools to do that. Yeah. And so we're going to do what the NCAA's allow. NIL, you know, we've created a great platform for that for our student athletes, Buffs with the Brand, all those different things. So we're going to continue to provide those resources for our student athletes, and we're going to meet the challenges that are coming down the pike, you know, with the changing in the NCAA landscape.
Yeah, Mike, you asked that question in all.
Sorry,
No.
I went on a rant.
That was perfect because, you know, Mike asked that question about, you know, what do fans need to know? What they need to know is when I pass Rick in the hallway, he's spinning about 100 plates at one time.
That's correct.
You're always looking at all aspects of this department and how you can make it a better experience for all of our student athletes.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why we come to work every day. You know, we've got the P in our core values in the middle of that, and it's passion. Yeah. And you got to be passionate about serving our student athletes, and that's what we do. That's what we come to work to do every day. And these programs that we put in place for our student athletes are really important for the overall experience.
Our last question comes to from one of our viewers, Alex Shepard, and he kind of touched on the transfer portal a little bit, but he asked, how will Colorado rebuild after losing a lot of really talented players to the portal? I'm assuming he's probably asking about football. That was probably the most notable.
Yeah, look, I mean, we were a little above the median for the number of student athletes that went into a portal. I think student athletes go in there for a lot of different reasons. I think the fact that this was the first time that you could go in there and transfer without penalty, was a driver. I think NIL was a driver because people wanted to see what opportunities they could get. Now, we know that inducements aren't allowed. We know that tampering aren't allowed. We know that booster involvement are not allowed in the recruiting and in the space of interacting with our student athletes. So a lot of people went in there for different reasons. Some, they wanted to they weren't playing here maybe and wanted another opportunity at another place, and we saw some of that. We did see some student athletes that are still in the portal, which is concerning to me. And then we lost some really good, 5 or 6 of our student athletes that went on, and some again in our conference, which was difficult for us to see, but it happened. And we were also able to supplant that with bringing in transfers of our own. Chance Main's a great example of that. R.J. Sneed, Tommy Brown. I mean, there's a number of student athletes that we brought in that helped solidify our core, and we feel really good about that. I think the NCAA dropping the rule that you could only bring in 25 a year to get to the 85. Now we can bring in more than that to get to the 85. I think that was important for us. So again, we lost some key student athletes, no question. The problem with the transfer portal is that student athletes are going in there with their eyes wide open, but a lot of them are still stuck there.
Amen.
There was a point in time where there were 2,900 student athletes in the portal of football. Only 53% matriculated, so 43% were still in the portal. It's probably down to the mid-30s now, but where are those student athletes going to go? Again, the educational component is really important to us, and we want to make sure that we educate our student athletes when they do go in the portal that this is not always the grass is greener, and you may get in there and never get out, and then what are you going to do next? So we just got to be mindful of that as we move forward.
I would think there was a little bit of a rush in his first time opportunity, where everyone was kind of running to the gate, if you will. And I think the student athletes are going to be educated by watching this, and it'll probably settle. It'll still happen, obviously, but it's probably going to settle down. The numbers won't be quite as extreme moving forward, I wouldn't think.
Well, I think it'll settle, and I think there's also some pretty smart people that are looking at it in all of our different sports about, is there the right windows in place? If you look at professional sports, with free agency, they've got parameters around that,
there's a period for that.
There's a period for that, and there has to be some periods of time for that, because for coaches to be able to find, student athletes that can fill those holes when student athletes leave, and then student athletes being able to go in at a specific time, so it just is better for both the student athlete and the schools to be able to manage this moving forward.
Now, it's great to have the student athletes coming back on campus now, off-season workouts, and before you know it, the footballs will be flying, right?
Footballs will be flying. Our track athletes will be back for cross country. Our soccer and women's volleyball will be in full force. So a lot's coming up.
All right, Rick, thank you very much.
Yeah, go Buffs.
All right, Athletic Director Rick George, don't forget, jump online and let's get naming Ralphie and those donations up, and make sure we support the greatest mascot in all of college athletics. I'm voice of the Bus, Mark Johnson. We'll come back a few months later as we get more closer towards the fall for another Ralphie's Rundown with Rick.